Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 16th, 2022 Town of Norfolk Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. In accordance with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, relating to the 20 novel coronavirus outbreak emergency, this meeting, the February 16, 2022, 7:00 p.m. public meeting of the Norfolk ZBA of Appeals shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be done via Zoom online video conferencing. This application will allow users to view the meeting and provide comments during allocated windows. The meeting will be recorded for future rebroadcast by Norfolk Community Television. So at this time, I'll do a reminder to the board members, associate board members, and everybody. Leave your cameras on at all times. We want to be able to know that you're present. If you need a break, just let us know. We can always take a break, just like any other meeting if need be. I think at this time, what I'll ask Elaine to do is let's do a roll call attendance to make sure we're all on board. So if you could help us with that, Elaine.
Yeah, and as I say your name, if you could just repeat your name, that'd be great. Joe Sebastiano.
Joe Sebastiano.
Chris Metcalf.
Chris Metcalf.
Courtney Kadehi.
Nope.
I mean, Josephine Kodehi, sorry.
Yes. Josephine Kodahi.
David Axberg.
Yes, David Axberg.
Now, I still do, I do
Tim.
Courtney and,
Yep, Tim,
Yeah.
Courtney, and Tyler. Yep.
okay, good. Courtney Starling,
Present.
Tyler Tulos,
Tyler Tullis, yep.
and the last one is, I said Joe already.
Tim Martin.
Tim, I apologize. Tim
That's
Martin.
right. Tim Martin present. And just as a note, anytime we have a board discussion, it's opened up without me, if I don't formally say it, it's opened up to the associate members, even though they may or may not be voting on a particular matter. I'd always invite their comment, questions, and all of it. So if I don't specifically ask for it, it's open for them also. All right, great. Thank you. Our first meeting this evening, which was scheduled for 7 p.m., was a continuance from, well, it was originally back in September, 5 Hanover Street. I understand, has the applicant requested another continuance, Rich?
Well, I was sort of. I was supposed to get a letter from the applicant to request a continuance. I was on the phone earlier with their counsel. They did acquire 1 Hanover Street from the town, which was through auction, and the closing was yesterday. The deed is recorded, and they were requesting a continuance to 2 things. 1, to modify their application to add one Hanover to 5 Hanover for the variance request for the front yard setback, and then to renotice everyone as well, because the notice would change based on the addition of that additional parcel. In the interest of, we could pause it and I can keep monitoring my emails till we get I was expecting the email with the letter requesting it from the applicant. I don't see it yet. So,
But even if they haven't sent in a request, we could take it upon ourselves just to continue it.
yeah,
So
that's probably a better course.
So that being the case, I think I'd entertain a motion to continue the application for 5 Hanover Street to, I believe it's March 16th.
It is.
At what time? At what time?
Do we want to, why don't we make it at 7 p.m.?
Yeah, we don't have anything new scheduled yet, so. Go ahead,
Right.
sorry.
I'll make a motion that we move the continuing hearing for 5 Hanover Street to March 16th at 7 p.m.
Okay, so Joe's made a motion. Is there a second?
I
to the motion?
second it.
Is there any discussion? Is there anybody from the public that has any questions or concerns?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll take a roll call vote. If you could help us out, Elaine.
I'll try. Tim Martin,
Tim Martin, aye.
Joe Sebastiano,
Aye.
Chris Metcalf,
Chris Metcalf, aye.
Courtney Cardehi. I mean, Josephine Cardehi. I apologize.
I'm Courtney for you tonight, Tony. Okay, it's, yes, aye.
David Axberg.
Aye.
Okay, did I get everyone? I'm looking at the side here.
Everybody?
Joe Sebastian, I got Joe. Yeah, the
Okay,
vote, that's fine, yeah.
So moved.
Okay.
Great. All right, wonderful. So the hour being, I have 7:12, so we are ready to hear. I'll need some help. Maybe Joe can read the application into the record for us. This is regarding a special permit from Michael Sheehan for 1 Cottage Ave. I don't know if Joe, if you could read the application into the record
I
for
could
us.
use the, I need the notice of hearing, the folder for this I don't have handy. I didn't seem to receive the email on the 14th, but I believe that was part of the folder.
I will display the.
Display it, I'll read it if you display it. And if, Elaine, if you could resend me whatever you sent out on the 14th, a folder for the meeting, I don't have that handy.
Okay,
I mean, I saw replies to that email, but I didn't get the original one that had the folder, I believe. But in the
Oh.
meantime, yes, Rich, I can read whatever you put on the screen.
Okay. So
then-
Elaine, could you just make me co-host and I'll screen share?
yeah. And we do have Mike Sheehan here.
Great.
Um,
We'll invite him in a moment.
You all set, Rich? Yeah.
Yep. See the,
Ooh,
clear
Yeah, I
enough?
just got it. I got it. I can see it. All right. So notice hereby given in accordance with Chapter 48 of Massachusetts General Laws and any and all amendments thereto, that a public hearing will be held by the Zoning Board of Appeals in Room 124, the Norfolk Municipal Building, or will be obviously by Zoom, for February 16th at 7:10 p.m. Michael Sheehan at 7:10 p.m. for special permit pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws 40A, Section 9 as amended, and Section F4A of the Norfolk zoning bylaws to allow the alteration or enlargement of an existing non-conforming structure. Properties located at 1 Cottage Ave, Assessors Map 4, Block 15, Lot 25 in the R2 zoning district.
Great, thank you. Now, is the applicant Michael Sheehan available?
yes,
am.
Oh, great, welcome.
So if you want to, Michael, just explain what the request is, then
Oh, sure. Michael, if you could walk us through your application, that would be wonderful.
Are you asking me?
yes.
I was looking to put, it's a single bedroom cottage. I wanted to put a second floor on to put 2 bedrooms up so my kids, my family can possibly come stay with me for a weekend or something of that matter. Make it just a little bit bigger and no, not much more altering what is there except for going up, I guess. I have my builder here if you have any questions for the builder. That's gonna kind of make it more, I guess, a comfortable house and, pretty small right now. If you look at the dimensions, it's pretty small. But that's what I'm looking to accomplish, is get a second bedroom, and then so the kids can come visit and, possibly stay for the weekend, something like that. I'm not moving anybody else in or anything like that, it's gonna be the cat.
I don't know, but just me, it's difficult to hear.
it is difficult to hear.
So Michael, if you could just help us out, I had difficulty hearing you. Could you just explain on the property now? I think it's a small single-family home, and I think you said you want to expand by going up. I just couldn't hear you. I apologize.
Yes, I'll just talk slowly, maybe talk too fast. It is a 1-bedroom, living room, galley kitchen, bathroom house, cottage. It's a small cottage.
Okay,
What I'm looking to do is put a second floor, so a second bedroom, so my children can come over and stay. If they want to visit.
Okay. So in terms of its a pre-existing non-conforming structure, he's adding a second story to it, so it needs to, he's before for a extension in terms of that as a non-conforming structure to add the second story.
Right. Can I ask, Mr. Chairman, is that,
Go
that's a
ahead,
second?
Joe.
Yeah, second floor addition for another bedroom and any other room?
Yes.
That's a question to the applicant. It's- One bedroom, two
Well,
bedrooms?
there'll be, the bedroom on the first floor will be non-existent anymore. And
Okay.
upstairs will be 2 bedrooms.
Okay, any other, no, any additional washroom or anything, or just that?
There's a bathroom, right, Joe?
Yes, there is a bathroom on the second.
There's gonna be a bathroom on the second floor.
Okay,
Besides that, there's no more going on besides what I have now.
all right, that was my question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. The Cottage Ave, I know generally where it is in town, but I don't know that I've actually been on Cottage Ave. Michael, could you help me out a little bit? Just, I know that area a little bit, not as well as I should, but I know some of the streets are paper streets down there. And really what I'm trying to get at, if you can help.
You kind of go through either Franklin or Midway to get there. You have overlooks Populatic. It's way up on the top of the hillside of the thing. It's set, like, I can see the lake, but I'm on the other side of the street. Where else had you references? It's I usually go up by the Norfolk Airport and
Right.
look around, and head up Leland Street when the Leland goes around. And I just almost do a U-turn and show up down the dirt road.
Yeah.
And it's down there.
So it looks like-
It's, yeah, this is Chris Metcalf. It's not far from Old Pulaski, which we know about near the lake. It's just
Right.
up from
Yeah,
that.
it's not far. It's the higher ground of that, I guess you could say, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
So I think Rich has helped us with a map here or a plan
Yeah.
showing, maybe we can get a little.
So I should be if I can read this, like 43-25.
Yep. So is that Norfolk Ave? Is that,
Norfolk Ave is the paper road next to me.
okay, so your access is off Cottage Ave.
My access, that's my address is considered 1 Cottage Ave, but the paper road is there.
Right. So you're at basically from a practical purpose, you're really at a dead end of a way.
Yes,
Because
correct.
Norfolk Ave does not exist. It's paved.
There's no cut, there's no way to get there. They built other houses. It's just a piece of, gravel.
Okay. The reason I asked the question, I'm just trying to, like, we had like Chris mentioned, we had one on Old Populatic, and this may have similar challenges, which I just want to avoid relative to emergency vehicle access or neighbors getting out. And maybe if you said your contractor might be available tonight to talk about how this would be done, if all materials and trucks would be located on your property so as not to block any egress or access points on Cottage Ave or any of the other ways.
Well, I get Norfolk Ave is the paper road that goes right next to my property.
Yeah.
Dead ends up to the back of my property. All vehicles will be parked on that, which goes nowhere, so no neighbors would lose any access whatsoever, except for the truck coming in and out. And
So there'd be no
there's
parking on
there.
Cottage Ave during construction,
Yeah,
and there'd be no storing of materials off your property, obviously.
no, nothing of that nature. No.
Okay, and it may make sense just because of the uniqueness of that area that, and whether the board wants to do this, we may want to, like we did on Old Populatic, and it's just as a condition, if we vote favorably, is have the applicant contact the town planner's office prior, or the building department prior to construction, just so they know that work's going on out there or ready to commence in a day or two in case there is a concern. Well, we tend to be in snow season, even in March and April some years, so it could get tight out there if work were to commence. And
Yeah, I'm very friendly with all my neighbors. I'm sure we all work together to, any issues like that, we help each other plow out and all that. I'll make very sure that there's nobody's in the way.
Okay.
This is Chris Metcalf. I have
Go
one
right ahead,
question
Chris.
for Mike. One question for Mike. One of the things is cases, it's not detrimental to the neighborhood, and I agree with him. But are any of the other houses 2-story, or are they all cottages in that area?
No, there are actually my neighbor across the street. That's 2-story. The Devon's at the end of the road is a 2-story. Actually, everyone is a 2-story. I'm the only one that's not.
All right, good. All right.
Good question. Yeah, good. So it sounds like it'll fit in nice with the neighborhood and actually,
Yeah, and I want to make it look better. And again, it just gives me a
Improve
little
your
bit more for my kids to come enjoy if they choose to.
great. Any other questions from the board?
What are, I have a quick question.
Please.
I understand it's an extension of a nonconformity, but what exactly is a nonconformity?
The left side, right?
It's a setback
It's the setback on the left hand.
from 2 front yards?
The side yard.
Is,
Setback.
Rich, do they have 2 front yards on Cottage in Norfolk? And that's what's driving the nonconformity? They have an.
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right.
It may
Corner lot.
also be lot size.
Corner lots are tricky.
You count the corner lot even though it's a paper street? Do you count it as because there's no real access there? It's only on.
No, not in this. No, you don't count. Let me
Not,
pull up
not
the-
on this application? I was
no.
just curious
Good
what,
question. I just didn't know from a practical standpoint if we look at it as a corner lot.
I'm just gonna pull up the plan.
Okay.
We can-
Yeah.
Mike, I have one other question. In that area, are you guys on Franklin Water and Sewers, or are you on Norfolk?
Nope, I have a brand new well and I have septic. So I'm not on any town of any kind.
Okay.
has the additional capacity been put in for the, do you have capacity for a 2-bedroom?
Yeah, the well is way over in everything.
No, not the well, your septic system. The septic systems are sized by bedroom? And so that's outside our purview, but, Board of Health,
Yeah, we might as well find
I
out.
believe it is.
that'll come up when you just check it out.
You go to pull a permit from the building department.
Yeah,
That's-
that'll come up at that time, but you may want to check in.
Yeah, you want to find out earlier rather than later.
So
Yeah.
I can't quite read the number, but I know it's less than 25 feet on the side there.
I
on the-
see 18.5.
Right.
Okay. And the other one I can't, well, that's the, I wish my. eyes were
That
better.
looks like
Looks like the garage is on the
32.5.
property line.
Yeah, the garage is, the the side setback looks like. I don't know.
33 and a half.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see 33.5. And then 50.7 on the front.
Excuse my.
What's
head,
the
yeah.
actual lot size?
The lot size, it's 18, wait, hold on. 16,767 square feet. So it's less in terms of overall lot size and the side yard setback.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
in reality, that's probably why it's non-conforming is all of the above.
Yeah, well, certainly for sure for the side yard, and well, actually the lot too, so.
well, the height really kind of is, in terms of nonconformities, the lot size isn't quite as problematic for extensions, like if the side yard, the setback is more critical when you're determining whether you're exacerbating or extending the life improperly. Exacerbating the nonconformity.
Agree. Yep.
And Rich, this is Joe. Rich, do you have all the dimensions you need for the documenting the nonconformity?
Yeah, no, I have the dimensions, I just can't, I apologize, my poor eyesight to be able to read it, that's all.
Yeah, sometimes it's summarized on the application what the setbacks need to be and what they are.
You know what, if I will double check, if I don't, I can get them though. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the application I have a copy of, but I don't have that exact plot plan. I have the drawings of the additional room though, additional floor.
Oh, there's the zoning analysis.
Yeah,
Oh.
so.
Oh, but it's only what's required, not the.
Yeah, it's only existing. If I can get a better plan from Dunn McKenzie, but I also could ask them to, just to
Well, we
clarify.
can, I mean, we can pretty clearly see, you know, the minimum lot size is deficient and the side yard setback that's marked 18.5 is the deficiency. That's not,
my name is
your
Joe-
eyes aren't that bad.
Yeah, my name is Joe Durb. I'm the contractor. We had Dunn McKenzie draw the plans for the project. So they've got full-size plans. We have full-size plans we could submit to you guys.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely. The scan's just a little hard to see.
And I've walked the plan through the building department already and
Good.
and pretty much in the town just to get a feel of everything. If it was worth trying to go for, and they said they didn't think it was going to be a problem, kind of thing.
Yep. So Joe, you'd be comfortable if there was a condition on the special permit that you did just reach out to the town prior to starting construction, just because of the uniqueness of that area?
Yeah, no, I be honest with you, I do a lot of work in Newton, so I know how to play the game and keep everybody happy. We send letters out to abutting neighbors just to make sure everybody's got our numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great. I just want to avoid, obviously, any issues with
Yep.
emergency vehicle access or anybody else for access.
Yeah, it's like Mike said, the paper road on the side, you guys see it. When you go to his property, it just looks like his yard. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
So there's plenty, the lot looks small, but it's really not. There's plenty of room for supplies and whatnot on the property.
So you think
Without bothering anybody on the
supplies
street.
and the trucks on the property during construction? Other
Yes,
than delivery for coming in and out?
yeah, I'll be honest with you, the picture doesn't do it justice. If you go up there and see, there's plenty of room. And it
Great.
won't
No, that's
impede,
good.
it won't impede any of the other, neighbors.
I don't have any other questions. Does anybody else on the board have any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Joe again. I just want to make a note on the special criteria, first, the other criteria sheet for special permit. There's
Yes.
nothing particular filled in. I mean, mostly it looks like he's acknowledging there's no particular issue with any of the requirements by mostly a check mark. I agree that this doesn't cause any issues with the criteria requirements. You did mention you might just do a condition on the fact we gotta make sure there's no obstruction to traffic into this area
Yep.
during construction, I think is what you said.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
but I think
correct.
with that condition, I think that would clarify.
Yeah, I think we did that on Old Populatic and they were receptive to that and just just avoids any issue and helps people out.
Okay.
So I think, we can propose that on the decision and if people are so inclined, we can approve it that way. And it sounds like the developer and the applicant are very comfortable with that and they almost promote it, so.
Mr. Sheehan, Tyler told us here, no non-zoning question or statement for you, but it seems like this is a common sense kind of thing, and I wish you the best, and I hope that your kids do want to come hang out, because that looks like a cool place to hang out.
I'm sorry, everyone. I think I missed some of it because I got disconnected. Could you let me know what happened? In the
We're
last
done.
5 minutes?
No.
Okay, well, the applicant is proposing to build a second story on his existing single family.
Yes,
He's not going to
yes.
extend the footprint of the house.
Okay,
Norfolk
yeah, I
Ave-
did see that. Yep, I know that. Yeah.
Norfolk Ave is a paper street. And the applicant is very amenable if we put a condition on the special permit that they would reach out to the town planner and or the building department prior to construction, just
Okay.
have a construction meeting, just for access issues. Really, it's not as difficult a site as the Old Populatic, I don't believe, but it's probably still a tight site and just trying to keep everybody have access out there. That's all. And
I did want to ask, I was here for most of it. It just the last few minutes. I did want to ask, how much access does he have for parking, the applicant?
well, if you want to pull up that that site plan, we can take a look at that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There you go.
You got,
I think, well, maybe Mike or could go through it. I can, just for, well, let me go there. Why don't we look at this? I
There you
think
go.
this will help a little bit, Josephine. So
Yes,
what's highlighted in green is One Cottage Ave. And then this over here to the right-hand side of the screen, Norfolk Ave is a paper street. So it doesn't
Yes.
exist in terms of on the ground. The neighbor across the street. So what they're saying is that there's room on the ground, which I can't zoom in too far, but you can see, I think there's room to be able to park construction vehicles and keep the driveway on the other side and this driveway clear.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And I guess I remember the applicant saying that they're going to look, that their septic can handle another bedroom.
I'm not sure they confirmed that, but that would be like Courtney indicated, they'll be part of the building permit process and they would.
Yeah.
They
Dun
felt-
McKenzie will be involved in that.
Oh, yes, I'm familiar with them. So it's just one more bedroom you're adding, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Is there anybody, no one else from the board? Anybody from the public, Elaine or Rich? Anybody out there?
See, I'm not seeing anyone.
Anything else from the applicant? Or the builder?
No, I think we're all set. We, like I said, we'll do, whatever you guys want. If you want to send in a letter of, like, that we will contact the building department before any big steps are made as we go along.
Yeah, that may be on the special permit, so I'd probably anticipate that.
Yep, which
And
is fine.
You're welcome to watch the meeting and we'll close. I intend to close the hearing if no one else has anything. And if we can tonight, we'll take the time, we'll deliberate and vote, and then we have a meeting, have a decision maybe at the next meeting or earlier. We'll see how that
Fine,
plays out.
thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you very much. So can we get a motion to close the public hearing?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for One Cottage Ave for the alteration or enlargement of the existing non-conforming structure, such as map 4, block 15, lot 25 in the R2 zoning district.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second the motion.
David Axberg seconds that motion. Is there any further discussion from the board or from the public? There being none, we'll need a roll call vote. Elaine, if you could help us out.
Okay, Chris Metcalf,
Chris Metcalf, aye.
Josephine Cordehy.
Muted.
Josephine Kordahi, aye.
Thank you. David Axberg,
David Axberg, aye.
Timothy Martin,
Tim Martin, aye.
Joe Sebastiano.
Joe Sebastiano, aye.
Thank you very much. All right. Next on the agenda, it's 7:34. So next on the agenda is continued from December, I believe. We have the 90 through 100 Pond Street and Sharon Ave special permit for a large scale ground photovoltaic solar system. Is the applicant present? Oh, we have some, the applicant. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
The
My name
engineer
is Daniel.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, my name is Daniel Server. I'm the Director of Development with Next Grid Inc. I'm here with Brian Irrigation, civil engineer with BSC Group. We are a solar energy firm. I think you're familiar with us at this board. We've got a special permits for a couple other solar projects in town. One at 15 Lincoln and another in a condo, the condo development at Meeting House Road. We're coming to you for a project that we are doing next to the industrial park, next to the town police station and off of Sharon and Pond Street. This project, it's a ground mounted solar facility. And we came about some of these parcels independent of the town RFP that I'll talk about in a second, that we have private control over. And then the town had released an RFP on some land that is adjacent to the water tower. Next Grid responded to that RFP and we ultimately won. That RFP allows us to lease the town land and required us to build a paved access road so the police can access Pond Street from their Sharon Street police station. This is going to improve police response times and emergency access. Just a little bit about the land. This has some shortwave radio towers on it. So that area is more or less sparsely treed. Some of the other site is heavily wooded, but the site is surrounded by no residential structures. So there's a residential zoning on the west side of the project. The other three sides are not zoned residential and there's no existing residential structures. And you really can't see the project from any of the abutting parcels. So this is a very low impact development and it provides both income to the town as well as increased emergency access. And so now I'm just going to hand it over to Brian and let him kind of discuss the project if the board doesn't mind.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you. Go ahead, Brian.
What,
Good evening, everyone.
Elaine, I'm sorry, you want to give Brian co-host? And that way, Brian, you can go
Sure.
through the plans. It might be a little bit
Yep.
easier that way.
Thank you. Yes.
All right.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is Brian Urgation. I'm a professional engineer with BSC Group, and I'm here before you tonight representing the applicant, who is Next Grid Inc., represented tonight by Daniel Serber, who you just heard. And we are seeking a special permit for this project. We also are seeking a stormwater permit as well as site plan review approval by the planning board, which we are going through that process simultaneously. The project is located in the C1 as well as the C1B zoning districts. It is located in a commercial district. The parcels or the property itself is made up of about 6 different parcels, which are owned by a total of 3 different entities. One being, and this would probably be a good time to share screen with you. Bear with me. Okay. This parcel down here to the south, this is the 12 Sharon parcel. This is owned by the water department, Norfolk Water Department. And then to the north of that are the parcels which are owned by the Pond Street LLC and as well as the Interstate Radio Realty Trust. And as Daniel mentioned at the start, there are 2 radio antennae which are located on the site. One of them is here. You can see where I'm circling my mouse. The second one is here. And there is a gravel access road which originates on Pond Street and provides access to the antennae. And as part of this project, we are going to be protecting those radio antenna during construction, as well as there's going to be no solar panels within 30 feet of the towers. The property itself is about 25.74 acres, more or less. And as Daniel mentioned, one of the primary benefits to the town of Norfolk is that we are going to be proposing a 1,400 linear foot roadway, which is going to originate the southern extent of the site, which is at the parking lot to the Norfolk Police Station. And then that access road is going to cut right through the site, and it will end up on Pond Street. At Pond Street, where there's an existing clearing. If you've driven by the property, you know that there's right next to this is the auto body, which is at 98. And as you're facing it, just to the right of that, you can see a very large clearing. And it's very peculiar. I've gone back in time and it looks like maybe there was some mining operations, incidental, something that had happened at one point. There was some storage, some metal storage containers. But for the most part, this site is all cleared right now. And where that existing drive is, that's where we're proposing that the new access road will terminate at that exact location. So that's a huge benefit to the town, is it's going to greatly improve the police department's response time. In addition to, the provision of some reduced cost electricity for the town as well. It is about a 4.1 megawatt DC solar array that we're proposing to put in. The site on the southern portion, which is owned by the town, it has the water storage tank on it, and that's completely enclosed by chain link fencing. It also has its own stormwater basin. We will not be disturbing any of that, as well as it has its own access road, and we're the same thing. We're not going to be touching that either. That will the water department's access to the storage tank will remain as it currently is today, without any modifications. There's definitely some clearing that's required to do this project, but we are in full compliance with the landscaping requirements and calculations that are required by the zoning bylaws. We're proposing to meet all required setbacks, and we do need some relief from the planning board, some waivers, but I don't think that they're all that substantial. And we'd be happy to go through this. I believe that we meet all the town's criteria for the special permit. And maybe the best way to do that, rather than to waste your time going through it, is if you have specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them on either the criteria or any other aspects of the design of the site.
Thank you, Brian. What I'd like to do before we open it up to the board is I know the planning board, you gentlemen met with the planning board quite a few times. There's been a very comprehensive beta review on this and comments and back and forth quite a bit. And maybe I'll call upon Rich to help give some continuity or a little bit further explanation to the board and anybody in the audience who's thinking for the second time they just woke up and they're seeing the same hearing over again. They're not. This is the ZBA. Similarly, these gentlemen before the planning board, and but just to help us all out, maybe you could give a little bit of a history on why, or explain why they're before the ZBA, what's going on as far as the jurisdictional, what our view is, and get the continuity there of the history of this. And I think it would be helpful to the board and anybody else watching, if you don't mind.
Sure. Thank you. I'll, in terms of context for this, the way our zoning bylaw is structured, there's a solar bylaw provision, section M of the bylaw, that spells out certain performance standards, which requires site plan approval through the planning board. And then in section D, the allowable uses within the town of Norfolk, ground mounted solar is by special permit through all the districts in town, but through the zoning board of appeals. And I think in terms of coordination between those two, I think looking forward, in terms of looking back, we should sync them up where it's really one board doing it, I think would be the best approach. But in our particular case, there's really duplications because the planning board goes through a site plan review process and touches on all the same findings that you would in terms of the special permit process. In terms of, which makes it a little bit challenging here, and there's a letter in the packet that came from town council, is that when these bylaws were drafted quite a few years ago, section C or C, the commercial zoning district, has its own set of requirements, which supersedes other provisions within the zoning bylaws. And at the time when they did the solar provision, section M, they didn't go back into the C district to allow this as a use. So needless to say, there's some things that bump up against this type of use, but town council has rendered an opinion based on 48 section 3 that some of the requirements that are in the special requirements of C1 district, they will need you don't need to necessarily comply with that challenges a project like this. One is the setback between the two property lines. Because it's a lease situation, they'll merge all their properties, but the town property will remain. They're just leasing the land from them. And then a nuanced piece, which really doesn't fit well necessarily with solar, is that any use within the C1 zone has to have a minimum 2,000 square foot building as a principal building associated with it. Again, not necessarily, now there is batteries, so there will be battery storage on there. So those will come close. I don't think they're necessarily going to get to 2,000 square feet, but nevertheless, town council has said that the town, in terms has the ability to waive that because those type of regulations unduly burden solar projects. So again, they're both venues. I think going forward, we want to take a look at kind of revisiting this to kind of streamline it. One, because like I said to you, they're really doing the same thing, the planning board that is, through the site plan review process that you would be doing. And by that, they've gone through the peer review process. Beta Group has evaluated the project based on the criteria of the overlay district, as well as the planning board rules and regulations. There are some waivers that they need, but those really have to do more with, quite honestly, this emergency access road, which is really something that the town wanted. So that's not something that they're doing as part of the proposal, but that was at the request of the town. And then in terms of one of the big pieces I'll get to at one moment is screening. So that was a significant discussion point last Tuesday night with the planning board. I know Brian has put together some additional material to show the board, which I think is important to see that tonight, to get a little bit more familiar with that. The general intent, what's from the last week's meeting, the planning board, is that they want to be able to travel along, anybody travel along Pond Street and not see the solar arrays from the street. So that
on the zoning board of appeals.
That was
Go ahead, Rich.
and then in terms
I'll
of
have to get back to
they haven't muted themselves. In terms of one of the issues that need to be addressed, I just got an email from the fire chief today, which I'll share with these guys. I haven't shared it with them, as well as they are satisfied in terms of they want to have access to be able to get a brush truck in there. They don't need perimeter access. This roadway here is really for the police department. It's not for the fire department at all. So they really don't need to weigh in on that at all. In terms of the waivers they need, we're really essentially that access road is following the natural topography, which again, if you were building a road, doesn't meet subdivision standards, but that's not what the police department needs for the access. And that access road, as part of the lease agreement, would be maintained by the town of Norfolk DPW department. It will be a gate on Pond Street, so it will not have it'll have access from the police department and DPW. There will be access for Next Grid to do maintenance on the property, but it's not open for general traffic. It's really for emergency purposes only. So hopefully I've kind of covered.
No, that's very helpful. What I wanted to just tell the fellow board members and anybody else who's out there is I was watching the planning board meeting the other evening or whatever, and the planning board is, they walk through the Beta report. I don't know if anyone from Beta is here tonight or not. And I don't know if the other board members have looked at the Beta report. I'm looking at one from February 3rd with comments back and forth, and they work with the applicant, them being the planning board, the other evening. And I've looked at the report myself, and most of the items had been resolved or were going to be resolved. And the primary issue was which touched upon, at least from the planning board standpoint, my takeaway was that just what Rich said is that they were concerned about the screening from Pond Street, so that effectively the concern was if one person was to be driving down Pond Street and looked over left or right, they really didn't, they wanted to not be able to have them be able to see the solar panels. And likewise, I guess there is a sidewalk on the other side of the street, if pedestrians were over there, that they wouldn't see the solar panels. I believe Brian or whoever could talk about the grade there, it goes up on the site. And obviously, you're not gonna have screening where there's an opening for the traffic or the access, emergency access path and things like that. But there may be some subsequent, I'll call it backfilling with some plantings and so forth once the site gets developed. So my takeaway from the planning board hearing the other evening was there was some minor things, but and the applicant was amenable to all of them that I heard of, and more of that. But it was really to get a landscape plan in, and I think they may have gotten a plan in. It may have come in today. I don't know, but I just haven't seen it yet. And my suggestion to this board is, I'm certainly not going to take jurisdiction away from this board, but I just want to let you know that the planning board has a lot of expertise in this area. They've done a very thorough review working with this group. I'm not saying give up jurisdiction, ask all your questions, we'll look at it, but I think it's not normally in our purview to do this type of thing other than like in some of the 40Bs and things. But in any event, I don't want to duplicate the effort or come up with a different requirement than what the planning board does. So there's something that we may or may not want, which is fine, but it may be counterintuitive to what the planning board's leaning towards. So we're going to be, I think from a practical standpoint, we should be aware of that. But I do think, I'll speak for myself and everybody else and people in town, I think would be concerned relative to screening. And I think the applicant is probably ready to address that with a plan, maybe tonight. I'll turn it back over to Brian if you are.
Sure. Thank you, Tim. And thank you, Rich, too, for providing that background. And I agree with, with everything that was said, your characterization of it as well. So yes, you're 100% right that the big issue, if maybe I'll dare say the only issue really, is the screening of the site. And before I kind of get into some of the details, the way that we're proposing to address it, I just want to, I feel like I have to say this, but for all of you who've seen the site at 98, it's an auto body. The day that I was out at the site about a week or two ago, there were cars backed up all the way out onto the street. Some were double parked on the side of the road, and cars were actually backing out onto the right of way. But in addition to that, there are dumpsters right out there in plain sight, as well as, the use of the property, which is automotive related. And there was no screening for that site, nor were there the other properties across the way. That being said, and that's maybe it's more of a planning board discussion point. But what we are proposing to do, and I think I'll share my screen again. Oh, are you seeing it now?
You're still sharing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So this area right here, which I'm tracing generally with my mouse, this is the big open area that you see on Pond Street. And what we are proposing to have some panels in this open area. But what we're doing now is we are proposing a double row right here of Leland cypress trees. We're speccing them out at a minimum height of 6 feet, and they're going to be spaced 15 feet on center. The rows will be staggered and spaced 10 feet apart. And this is right from the town's requirements based on a prior discussion I had with Richard McCarthy. So in addition to that, there's also going to be a chain link fence in front of that. So with the combination of the chain link fence, the double row of the Leland cypress, I think it's going to really do a really decent job at helping to screen the property, at least in this section. The other sections, as you move further west down Pond Street, this is the section that's pretty mature forest right now. And we are proposing the closest the panels are going to be here to the property line is about 71 feet. We are going to be retaining about 35, 40 feet of the existing mature trees that are there. And so this squiggly line that you see here, this is the proposed tree line cutback. So all of this in here would be retained, the vegetation that's there. On the other side of the tree line, starting at the proposed tree line, working back into the site, it's going to be a 2-to-1 slope. So for every, in other words, to gain 25 feet in height, it'll go 50 feet back. What that effectively does is it means that in order to see any of these panels which are up here, you're going to have your eye at a pretty good angle. Now, certainly somebody passing by in a vehicle can't be, looking up like that. It would be right now as you're standing on the sidewalk on the opposite side of the street. And I do have a lot of photographs from there, and we're putting together some photo renderings to try and show, what it would look like. But that's going to be very well screened, this section in here. So the only other section that really would need to be screened, really, you could say maybe something back here in the back on Sharon, off Sharon, by the police station parking lot, but there's really no other areas that are where these things are going to be visible from. And while I agree, you're certainly not going to shield the site 100%, nor, however, do I think that that's the intent. I think the presumption is that if you're meeting the bylaws requirements for buffering and the setbacks, that presumably you're meeting the screening standard, it's sufficiently screened. I don't know that it's, practical to screen something from every location 100%, but I think we're really putting forth a good effort to do that. In addition to the trees that we're proposing, we also have some notes on the plan which state that trees will be added as necessary at the discretion of the town if the screening is not sufficient. And really that's better than any photo rendering that we could do now or any guesswork of what the site would look like once it's constructed. So I think we're doing the absolute best that we can to try and screen the property, but I don't think it's going to be all that unattractive. And the other thing too is that there's no glare from these panels, and they're going to be facing the opposite way. So it's not like it's a safety issue for any of the vehicles on Pond Street either. I have some photos. I have Google Earth queued up, street view. If you'd like to take a look at any of that, we can certainly do that.
Mr.
Brian,
Chairman,
Go ahead, Joe, and I'll get to you, Chris.
Okay.
I was going to ask even Rich, maybe, if you can take the question, Rich.
Go ahead.
Who would be following up with them for the screening at some point? I don't know if you heard that, Rich.
So
Who would be following up with the contractor here?
So in terms of the screening, we would incorporate as a condition of the permit. And one of the requirements that we have as part of the site plan approval is so Beta Group does the peer review. They've also gone out and do site inspections per progression of the project, which they did with the other, the other two projects that were out there. So it'd be a combination of myself, Beta, to follow up on those conditions.
Deal here or whatever.
Didn't quite understand.
I couldn't hear you, Joe.
Well, when it's set at the town's discretion, you understand what I'm saying, Tim? If it says it, it's the town's discretion, if the screening wasn't adequate, and it's at the town's discretion to add additional, let's say, buffer, which group would
Joe,
do that
I think you're
review
buffering.
and either approval or requested something more? That's what I wanted to find out. I just want to make sure there's not something hanging on us that we don't have properly documented.
No, we would. So in terms of the
I'll
last,
say it again. Can you hear me? Okay.
I heard you well enough, so hopefully you can hear me. So in terms of the Meeting House solar project, which Next Grid went through with the planning board and your board as well, you may not remember that but that's
I
fine.
remember-
So
I
as
remember-
part of the site plan approval, they had proposed vegetation screening, which you see similar here. And then that one had a similar condition that we got to go out to inspect it on the site to see if it's adequate enough to provide the screen that was needed. We could, maybe I think we just need to think about the timing of when that happens. I don't recall exactly what we did in the previous one. But we could kind of clarify that maybe a little bit better this go around. I'll send you but the short answer is we can do it in both, but we definitely did it in the planning board. And I know that will be something that will be part of that approval process.
I think I didn't hear all of Joe's question, but I guess my add-on would be, these gentlemen have said, look, we're providing a screening plan, whether they have or not, I'm not sure, but they have or they will. But they've also agreed to do further screening once the site is pretty well in place, the infrastructure in place. And that's quite enough because they're opening themselves up to, they don't know what. So they're making quite a commitment that way. I guess the question is, what sort of teeth is that? If we have a disagreement and on screening at the end, how do we enforce it? I mean, that.
So I would.
Right. And I would just add, you hear me or am I still buffering? Am I still
No, I
buffering?
hear you. Okay.
No, I just wanted to know who will be the person making that call. Oh, everything looks good now, or we need to make a request. Who's the entity that will make the request to them? That's all I'm asking.
So in the previous case, it was the planning board and acting through its planning board agent. I will say I'm trying to think, we could actually have, maybe I might have a member of the planning board attend, in terms of doing the site walk, to weigh in on it. So that, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm trying to think. I don't remember.
The valid concern.
Rich, could I make a suggestion?
Please go right ahead.
Maybe you could have, one, if it's going to be the same, if it would be the same condition, maybe you could have a member of the planning board, a representative from the zoning board, town staff, i.e. you, Richard, and then Beta. And then, so everyone can weigh in, and then maybe ultimately you would make the final call with input from those three people. And obviously the applicant and myself would like to attend as well. But I mean, it's certainly not an adversarial process that we're envisioning, but I think ultimately you should have the call.
I think I get the let me
I think the call may come from one of the, I understand
I think I would just, I like the concept. I think I would just, what I would do is my suggestion, okay, a member from the planning board, a member from the zoning board, I participated in it. But ultimately, it would go back, it potentially would have to be back to either board, I'm not gonna take on that authority to do that.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of something like that, Rich. I think you're right. I think the board members should have the final say on it, and whether, and with you there, and I don't anticipate an adversarial thing. It's just a matter of aesthetics and getting the thing covered. And these gentlemen are going a long way. They're saying to do all this and then not comply at the end is crazy. But
yeah, I mean, my core philosophy as doing this stuff is I look at it this way: I get paid to do my job. You guys get paid $0 to volunteer, but your names are on the permit. So, so I would help in the process.
Turn the switch on until they get final sign off. So
yeah, so
everyone's motivated here.
Yeah,
but I
and
do
just wanna
like,
say,
I like Brian's idea.
my question
having
was-
both, though, member from both.
and this is Joe again. My question wasn't adversarial. It's just saying that I just want to make sure we have the mechanism to check that box. That's all.
Yep, no, I agree. Do it now. Put it out front so everyone, no surprises. And then just a little different comment, nothing to do with landscaping. I was happy to see, because I know this, I don't think it's happened in this town yet, but these solar panels and things, they're not new, but they haven't been around for 50 years as far to this level. But I was happy to see the decommissioning plan, and it sounded like that went well.
All right. Great.
So I'm looking at this site, no noise, no pollution, all these things that we talk about, and we're talking about, we're getting down to the, some fine points here. And I'm looking ahead 20, 30, 40 years, whatever the schedule is for this on a decommissioning. I'm just happy to say that I'm just kind of reporting to the board that it looks like from the beta comments, the applicant and beta and the town are all aligned on a decommissioning plan. So well after I'm gone, there won't be an issue here with decommissioning, so.
Yeah.
I've seen
Now,
that.
I would just want to add to Brian and Daniel, I believe that the two applicants were named, but thanks for making Norfolk more energy efficient and safer. I think this is a great idea. That's all I want to say.
So I think Chris, we kind of let you out. You had some questions. I believe.
I'll join in a little bit here. I got a couple of questions to Brian. I know he's the civil engineer, but is there any concern about the configuration of the PV cells and the performance? Because usually the PV cells are usually grouped in sections so you can get the right voltages. And with this site configuration, it looks very complicated. So are you using this site because it's giving you good performance, or are you using this site because that's what you were given?
That's a great question, Chris. I'm gonna let Daniel speak to that.
And the reason I'm saying that, my background is from Westinghouse Electrical, so I have a PhD in engineering, and I know from a PV performance, it's complicated, and you've got sections in different locations which will get a different sunlight, and it's going to be a very complicated wiring system.
Daniel, are you still on? I know he has I know he had another hearing tonight.
Okay. Well, let's go to the other question then.
I apologize, Chris. We will get you an answer to that, though.
The other question I have is related to the road. It looks awfully close to the PV cells, and if you're going to have a heavy snow load, someone's going to push a load of slode into your PV cells. They're very vulnerable.
There's actually more space than it looks like, because this plan that the plan that I most recently had up was 1 inch is 60 feet.
Okay.
So there's like 1 or 2 cells which are about 5-6 feet from the road, but otherwise they're set back further than that.
Okay, I'm just concerned that that you're accepting this road, and I'd hate to see your equipment getting damaged due to the DPW hitting it with a plow.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the town's going to maintain the access road. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
That was my point anyway. I've got one other question.
All right, ahead, Chris.
Where is the connection to the grid on your plan?
So the connection to the grid is out on Pond Street. That's where the proposed poles are. Let me share the screen again and go to.
You got it.
Okay. All right. So let me zoom in a little bit. It's hard to see the scale. Okay. So this is Pond Street. Here's our proposed utility poles. So we will have overhead step down process, reclosure poles, utility poles, metering poles. Then the 3 battery storage equipment pads are located right here. So
where is the inverter system? Is that after the batteries?
That's right here on these pads. And
okay.
Yep. Daniel could speak better to that than me, but I guess technically that would be where the interconnection.
So the grid system has enough capacity, grid capacity to take the 4 megawatts in the cabling?
I'm assuming so. I mean, they have their interconnection already, so
All right, good.
that's above my pay grade, Chris.
Yeah, all right, because, you know, because this is a distributed power system. Basically, you're going to provide power locally.
Daniel is back. Daniel, Chris, if you want to ask Daniel that
Oh, Dan's
question.
back.
Go right ahead, Chris.
Hey, Dan. Well, I had 2 questions. One was the site configuration with the panels, the way they laid out. It's obviously a pretty complicated wiring system to get the correct voltage out of the whole system to get to the batteries. Was that driven by the site location? Is there a better configuration that you would prefer? Or?
Well, the site's complicated for a few reasons. You know, first of all, we're dealing with the shortwave radio tower, and it has anchor poles. And those anchor poles need to be adjusted occasionally, so we have to have a kind of a wide breadth around those. And, you know, further, we're just working around some topography, and we're also working around other people's land setbacks, stuff like that. And then so we don't find it to be particularly complicated. I mean, we do underground wiring that all kind of connects into like the reclosers, like Brian says, and the central inverters, and it just feeds up into the system. So solar is very forgiving with the design. So
okay,
it
great.
doesn't necessarily make it more complicated.
Right.
Last several years, and since our ordinance was adopted.
So just to follow up on the landscape plan, is there going to be another landscape design plan submitted to the planning board and the ZBA? Or it's already been submitted?
Yeah, Tim, there's some, I don't know if everybody can hear, but there's some really bad feedback, but yes, there is actually the plan, I had sent it over to Rich late this afternoon. It wasn't a landscape plan per se, typical landscape plan. It's an overall site plan, and it has the proposed landscaping features shown on it. I'm having some troubles with the screen share.
Is it the plan that you think the planning board had asked for? Is that what is to address their concerns? Is that what you think?
Honestly, it was what I could get done between the planning board and today to try and address it, you know, as quickly as I could, Tim. It wasn't what I would say a final landscape plan.
Okay. I haven't seen that plan. I don't know if can we see it this evening?
You're looking at it.
Okay. All right. And I think what they wanted to get the view from the street level, I think,
Right. So one of the things that we are preparing is I went out and walked after the last meeting. I went out and parked in the turnoff and walked up and down Pond Street. Took about 50 photos from different locations. And so we have somebody who's preparing a photo rendering using those photographs and the proposed features. And that's something which we're gonna present to the planning board at the next hearing.
Okay.
And obviously we'll have it available for you guys as well.
Great, thank you. So in your commentary on the auto body and dumpsters and things like that, I'm not going to challenge any facts. I'm just suggesting that obviously we want a better outcome here if that's the case out there. So you guys, you're doing what, you've done a lot of work on this, and to me, you seem cooperative on the landscape. So I'm looking forward to it. And let's not use another neighbor as a standard if that's not a good standard. That's all I'm saying. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, hey, we can do better. And
absolutely. And I agree. And I wasn't trying to say that's the standard. I was just trying to say, look, we're doing a lot better.
It's just factual. I get it. So, but I appreciate the candor, and I'll let the board ask any questions that open up to the public. Where I think we're going to go with this, if the board's amenable, is I think these gentlemen are working on a landscape plan to get it to the planning board for their next hearing, and our hearing would follow probably the week after that. I would anticipate that if that goes well with the planning board and the landscape, that we would see it on the tails of that, and could close out the following week, I think. So just to set expectations, that's what I'd like to see. I don't know of any other major issues. I've gone through the beta report and so forth. But are there any other questions from the board?
Tim, I'll just say this again, we just need to, again, just allow this via the fact that it's the photovoltaic system that's allowable by our bylaws, and that's what we're issuing special permit for, correct?
I'm wondering if Joe calling, it's not.
Yeah.
Yes, we can't hear him. Can't hear you, Joe.
Am I muted?
No, Joe,
No,
you,
it's breaking.
you're
Am I
buffering, Joe. You might
know-
you might consider hanging up and calling back in.
I don't think that's the issue. I think it might be bandwidth. It might be, I know we need to keep our cameras on, but if he turns his off, we might get better audio out of him.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was just saying, all right, I'm sorry.
That's better.
That's better.
Hey, Joe, go, we can hear you now.
All right.
Keep our cameras on, but if it turns it off, we might get better audio.
All right. Is that any better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's better? Okay. All right, I'm sorry. I was just saying that in the end, what we're doing here is we're gonna issue a special permit under the bylaw. We just have to need that it's allowable by the bylaw. We just need to agree and issue a special permit, you know, and that we know the planning board points accept. That's all we're doing here, correct?
Correct. You're going to get special permit for the use.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry there's an issue with my audio tonight.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public that has a question or concern?
Right, thank you.
I
I
do not
don't need this anything else.
Tim, there's no questions from the public.
Okay, no questions from the public. Then I'll entertain a motion to continue this hearing to our next hearing for March 16th. Do we have a motion?
Can you
I
hear
have a
me
motion.
to make the motion? Can you hear me make the motion? Okay.
I think David should make the motion. We can hear him.
I'm thinking I'm gonna make a motion that we extend this hearing to the 16th of March for further review of the landscape and what the planning board has.
At 7:15?
7:15 sounds very good.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, Chris Metcalf, I'll second that.
Chris Metcalf, second that. Is there any discussion from the board or from the public? It being none, we'll have to do a roll call vote. Elena, if you could help us out.
Okay. Josephine Kordahi,
Josephine Kordahi, aye.
Joe Sebastiano,
Joe Sebastiano, aye.
Tim Martin,
Tim Martin, aye.
David Axberg,
David Axberg, aye.
Chris Metcalf,
Chris Metcalf, aye.
I think that's it.
So, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. So next on our agenda is a discussion and hopefully a vote to designate some other folks. It seems like we only have a chairman, right? A chairperson, I should say, at the moment, because we've had a lot of turnover on the board in the last year and a half. But in any event, I think this would be a good time to talk about designating a vice chair and a clerk for the board. I don't know if anybody is so inclined to volunteer to take on one of those roles. My inclination is to speak to Joe. He's got a lot of seniority on the board. I don't know if he wants to step forward and take on either vice chair or clerk. He has a lot of experience.
Right. I don't know if you guys can.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me? Oh, geez.
Still have trouble, Joe.
Hey, Tim, since a lot of us are new to this,
Yeah.
Could you describe what the task would be for the vice chair?
Well, the vice chair would obviously step in the event that I couldn't attend. I had a conflict of interest and had to recuse myself. So you would
Okay.
conduct the meetings to the best of your ability. It doesn't give you any special voting power, obviously. Other than that, it would be support for the chair in the event that myself or any other chair couldn't attend that evening or on a particular matter. They might be there that evening, but have to step down from a certain matter because of a conflict or potential conflict.
Okay, good.
That's what I see the primary role of the vice chair to be. And then as a clerk, I think the agenda called it secretary. I prefer clerk, but the clerk, because of open meeting law, the clerk's not going to really go out and coordinate directly to our fellow board members. The clerk, though, could take the first pass and work with Elaine on minutes, to review minutes and report to the board on things like that. Obviously, we were lucky enough to have Elaine on board, and so there's really not much administrative other than to have someone kind of take the lead on that and maybe work with Elaine on minutes before they get to the board, and to give the board a little more organization that way, and to get us all a little more involved. So I think it's good to have people in place. And obviously my position has always been that, well, while these titles may exist, I kind of like the idea of, well, it's only a title. We're all on the same board. So I think everyone's equal. So that's my view of it.
Okay.
And again, we're all volunteers. We all do the best we can. And I don't say it enough to thank my fellow board members here for all you do. It's a commitment, and I appreciate all your help on this. So, and I would encourage anybody to whatever your experiences are. It's got a very talented group of people here. Everyone from different backgrounds. There's a lot, and you're from town, so it's your board and it's your town. So if you want to step up, this would be a great time to do it. So I just, Joe's got longevity on the board. He's got a long history. Talented person. He understands the board. He's got a lot of history with the decisions of the board. And therefore I would, if he was so inclined to prefer to have one of those roles, I would certainly support that. But he's having trouble communicating tonight, so maybe.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No, we can't hear you at all, Joe. We just voted you in.
Yeah, I know. I figured that.
Right.
All right. Let me just check. Can you hear me, Tim?
I can hear you fine, Joe. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I've been here for a long time. I was actually basically the clerk the entire time. This goes on for like maybe 20 years almost, maybe at least 17 if I counted correctly. So we have some great new talent I see that we've acquired for the board. You guys are all fantastic. I'm willing to, I love being a member of this board. At the same time, I don't want to get in the way of other people rising a little bit higher to a position that, some of us can be permanent members without having to be the secretary or the vice chair. I would do it if I was needed to do it. I wish I was in a retirement situation right now, which I'm not. So, with that type of full schedule, I'm willing to see if anyone else wants to do that.
Okay.
Tim, you're doing fantastic as a chairman, Tim, but if we need a vice chair and no one else wanted to, I would do it for the sake of the board.
Okay, well, thank you, Joe. Thank you for the input on that. And Joe, like he said, he's done 15 plus years, and he carried a lot of water because he was actually drafting a lot of, before Rich came on board, I believe, he was doing a lot of drafting of decisions and so forth. And it's a very difficult task, especially as a volunteer. We all, there's a lot to it, as you folks, some folks on the board have a lot more experience and land use than others, and that's fine. But trying to draft decisions it sounds easy until you try to do it.
Right.
And it's always easy until you find yourself in a lawsuit and then you're looking back. So fortunately, we have Rich on board and we have Elaine on board. We have a lot
And
of
town council.
Town council, if need be, yep.
Sort of trouble. But if anybody else is so inclined that they'd like to step up and become vice chair or clerk, I'd like to hear from somebody who might be willing to volunteer to take that role on. It's,
I would not mind doing either one of them, either way you want.
well, that.
I'm
means that
I probably have the longest longevity out of the five of us, other than you, Tim, and Joe. So
Yeah, maybe
and
by 5 minutes.
I think we came on just about the same time.
Right, it was all a quick transition, but and so I'd support, if others support, I support David as vice chair.
This is Joe. I would support that if David wants to step up to that. Yes.
Sure, that's fine with me.
Somebody want to make a motion that can make a motion to that effect?
That sounds.
Nice.
Well, I make a motion I make a motion that we would, do we have to do an election, or we just have to make a motion to accept?
Why don't we just make a motion to appoint him as vice chair?
All right, I make a motion to appoint David Axberg as vice chair of the Norfolk ZBA.
And I'll strongly second that. Any questions? Anything else from the board? And we'll need a roll call vote.
Okay. Josephine Kordahi,
Josephine Kordahi, aye. You owe me a free turkey, Dave.
Free
Joe
turkey.
Sebastiano,
Joe Sebastiano, aye.
okay, Tim Martin,
Tim Martin, aye.
Chris Metcalf,
Chris Metcalf, aye.
David Axberg.
You
Aye.
can't vote.
I accept.
You vote for yourself? You accept?
Thank you, David. Thanks for stepping forward on that.
Yeah, good man.
Oh, you're welcome.
And would everyone like the prestigious title of being clerk? Again, it's no longer a heavy lift because we have Rich on board and Elaine, but it's helpful to have someone who might be a point person on minutes and meetings and things like that.
Sounds like Joe Sebastiano's the man for the job.
Well,
Joe,
again, Joe will continue as clerk if no one else wants to step up, but anybody wants to step up, let us know now. Otherwise, someone will have to make a motion to reappoint me or keep me in clerk position.
Well, Josephine or Chris, either one of you,
Do you want to take?
Well, I feel a little concerned. I don't think I've got enough depth of knowledge yet in all this yet. So I need to watch what's going on for a few more months.
Well, I don't have a PhD.
Yeah, but mine's in engineering, not in all these supporting all these issues. It's a little different.
Fine. If anybody else would like, Joe's being gracious about it. He's offering it to anybody, but he's willing to accept it if no one else would like to step up.
Josephine?
I'm afraid that if I have to recount votes, I'm gonna get some things wrong, and I don't want to put anybody else to work alongside me.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Then I'll make a motion that we appoint Joe Sebastiano as clerk.
That's good.
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor? We'll need a roll call vote. Elaine, if you could help us.
Okay, Josephine Kordahi,
Josephine Kordahi, aye.
David Axberg,
David Axberg, aye.
Tim Martin,
Tim Martin, aye.
Chris Metcalf,
Chris Metcalf, aye.
and Joe Sebastiano. Do you vote for yourself?
Yeah, I humbly accept.
Thank you, Joe. Congratulations.
Thanks, Joe.
And thank you, David. Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Great. Okay, so we on the agenda, the next bullet is the town planner updates. I don't know if there really isn't anything on there, but I'll open it up to Rich to see if there's anything he wants to give us any updates on.
No, not for this evening.
Okay, and
And
before
we got a heck of a set of notes from the last update.
Yeah, I know. That was a good one. Good set of notes.
It was.
The last meeting minutes had a few chapters.
Right. And speaking of that, what I'll do is I'm gonna come back to it. I'll come back.
I'm thinking Elaine she was transcribing more than anything else, I think,
Right.
on that one.
Maybe.
Yeah,
We had a chance to look at the meetings. I'd like to approve the meetings for January 19th, 2022 that you folks are just commenting on. So it's a good time to do that. Has
Yeah.
everybody had a chance to, well, chance is lengthy, but
I had a hard time sleeping last night, so I read them and I went right to sleep. It was good.
Okay, is there a motion?
Yeah, I was on the Reddit. I was on the red eye coming back from California, so that kept me awake.
You guys
Okay.
are cruel.
Could we have a motion to accept the minutes from January 19th, 2022?
We're just kidding.
All right, well,
You're right. I slept for 4 hours.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I
Yeah.
make a motion to accept the minutes of,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is there a second?
Joe
second.
Sebastiano, second.
Oh,
All
good.
right, any discussion? All those in favor? Elaine, if you could help us out again, please.
Oh, good.
Okay, Tim Martin,
Tim Martin, aye.
Josephine Kadahi,
Josephine Kudahi, aye.
Joe Sebastiano,
Joe Sebastiano, aye.
David Axberg,
David Axberg, aye.
Chris Metcalf.
Chris Maycap, aye.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Rich, I don't know if there's any, or Elaine, I don't know if there's any correspondence to the board that should be read into the record.
So the two items on your agenda in terms of correspondence were, one was about, which happened last week, right? No, week
Right,
before.
about week, almost 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah, 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago, sorry.
the 26th, yeah.
And then the second item is notice of violations in terms of zoning bylaw. There's two of them. One has been, the one that you received for Saddle Ridge has been taken care of, so that's resolved. So that violation's been abated, so there's no more issue there. The second one, I don't have a status on that, which was a sign violation for Liquor World and on Rockwood Road. I'll have to find out. You haven't had any applications yet, so I'm not sure on the status. I'll have to report back to you, but that was the other one. That
Okay,
was there.
thank you.
Do we have any decisions we have to work on or?
Yeah, I was gonna
sign
come
at this-
back to that. I was figuring we get
Okay.
through some of the housekeeping and come back.
Yeah, 151 Union Street.
And then I don't know if we have any, if there's a modification for the comprehensive permit.
Correct. Yep.
Is that this evening, Rich? Is that?
Yes. Do you want to,
Is
what
he-
do you want to do next? I think there's a,
Is Mr. DePlacido's here or is there?
he is, yep, he's here. And
I-
there's other interested persons on here as well.
Okay, that's great. So we'll start with if Mr. DePlacido's available. I'd like to have him have an opportunity to speak to us.
Let me see.
There we go.
I don't
There
see
we
him anymore.
Yeah,
Oh,
He's there. He's on the other screen.
yeah, I
Okay.
do see him. Hi,
Hello,
Tom. Can you hear?
Hi,
us?
hello, everyone. I just put my video and unmuted myself here on things. And basically what I'd like to present to the board tonight is for Waits Crossing for Lawrence Street, formerly known as Abbeville, is that this is a little bit different than most 40Bs you have in town because it really is more of a single family subdivision with houses. And basically all we're asking is that just to make sure that it's clear in the comprehensive permit decision is that we'd like to be able to customize the houses a little bit more instead of just having cookie cutter. We did a similar thing that, you know, not as extensive in things because there were duplexes over at the Enclave, but just things like that. If somebody wants to put a dormer in the front of a house or a farmer's porch or a screen porch, sunroom, some different windows and things, just some things that add value to the neighborhood, increase the value of the house, helps increase property tax revenue for the town of Norfolk. It just really creates a more desirable home so that it may take on a different look, more traditional like a neighborhood than some of the other projects that you may have recently permitted with stuff. So that's all we're asking here with that, is if the board, basically it's to clarify the decision to allow us to do that more than anything. Other projects I've done in other locations allow this without even any thoughts with stuff when they go to the building inspector. You start from the base house, and we probably have 6 or 8 base house designs, and we'd start from them, and this just lets us customize them to make the neighborhood more attractive. And that's essentially what I'm asking for tonight.
Tom, if you could just take a moment, or Rich or whoever, just to give the board a little bit of history, since there's a lot of new board members here, and so a lot of them weren't involved with that comprehensive permit. And like you said, it's a unique one. Basically, I think a lot of it is more or less like single-family homes, which is quite different than what we've seen in other parts of town for 40B. So if you could just give the board a little bit of history as to what your project is, how it was approved, and that way they be educated as to what your request is tonight, I think it would be helpful.
Okay. The existing approval, it is approved. It's ready to start construction once we get a couple other things done. And basically it's 64 dwellings that are going to be built. And there's actually 32 single-family 4-bedroom homes, 8 of which would be affordable. The other 24 would be market rate. And then there's 32 combination of single-family homes and duplexes that are on a condominium lot. But that will actually take on more of a traditional type of neighborhood as well, because it's not attached in a row like you've seen in other developments that take on that real condo look. Most of these are going to be single-family detached standalone homes. And what that is basically to allow some type of common exterior maintenance as far as lawn care, plowing the driveways. Maybe there's somebody that doesn't have the time, or is a little bit, doesn't want to do it, or isn't capable of doing exterior maintenance. This type of condo will allow them not to give up the freedom of a single family house, but allows them the freedom not to have to do that exterior maintenance if they're not capable of it. So it's a little bit different than what you probably have traditionally seen around town, really trying to keep that neighborhood approach with it. And I think that having the option to be able to do this with some of the homes, that it would add a lot of value and blend in with the other neighborhoods that are off of Lawrence Street. There's single family homes up there as well. This is near, just everybody understands where it is. It's near the Franklin town line, and it goes, there's 2 abandoned houses where this will eventually, the main road will enter. So I think that's sort of an overview of everything.
Right, and we see the site plan up there now. That's great.
Mhm.
So I think from a practical standpoint, you tell me if I'm wrong, if you go out, you start to do some marketing and so forth, and folks are coming in and they'd like to pick a location and maybe tweak a design, and you'd like to accommodate them. And then right now you're tied up a little bit because the permit might be restrictive, and you have to come back to us, and you spend a month, and then you can't get back to the homeowner, and it's kind of frustrating that way. So you're really looking for a little more leeway on the design of, you're not changing the number of units, you're not changing roadways or anything, or anything like that. You're just looking to tweak the actual unit to accommodate what your homeowner is looking for. Is that accurate?
That's correct. With that, it's just not really specified that we could do something like this in the comprehensive permit. We just want to make sure that we could. And that's what we're asking for this modification for. Otherwise, we're going to be, potentially we could come in here 64 times asking for different, relief from changing windows or architectural elements like that are really, they're not even thought of if you were building in another development or something.
Right.
It's all adding value to the neighborhood with this. So that's really, it takes some of the burden off the ZBA from us coming back and forth all the time. And it actually, also with this, we're not asking for any relief from setbacks, anything else. All that would all stay the same. So, the conditions of the comprehensive permit, if it's a 20-foot setback, for instance, we're not encroaching on that. There's nothing that would impact that. So we'd stay with those, the same type of look and feel and everything that the ZBA originally approved. We're just looking at trying to enhance the appearance of the houses.
How do you intend to accommodate that in the affordable units? they have to be built to the same design standard. And so if you're doing, if the options are available, we know that the purchase price is obviously capped on the affordable units. How do we ensure that farmers porches, upgraded windows and things of the like that ensure that the units cannot be identified from the exterior as affordable units? How do you intend to ensure that will happen?
Well, there's a base design for the 6 or 8 homes that we intend to offer here with that. And then if somebody wanted to upgrade, then,
But what I'm saying is that when the purchase price is capped on the affordable unit, the change order for the upgrade, which would be born in a typical market rate unit, that's just born in the purchase price and that just goes up and that's not a problem. But on an affordable unit, that is a problem. And so my only question is that if the bulk of these units, receive upgrades, how do you accommodate for that, that the base model will then be identifiable?
It's a good point, but what's to stop that from happening 3 years down the road when somebody wants to do a farmer's porch or anything?
Well, the difference is that you're getting the zoning relief to build this, and this is a comprehensive permit application that is subject to the standards of DHCD. The difference between you and a resale on a market rate difference is pretty significant.
Actually, we've done this in other developments and it's had never been a problem with DHCD or mass housing or anything else, even when we've gone through, audits and everything else.
So if I could interject here just for a second, Sue Jacobson, Affordable Housing Director. I think, Courtney, that if we knew that every unit was going to do an upgrade that was going to make everybody's home, have either a farmer's porch or a bump out or something like that, then you would have to. But the way that I read the directive from Mass Housing is that if Tom's offering 5 units, let's just use the number 5 home style units, he has to offer at least an equal number of each home unit to an affordable buyer as a market rate unit. Some developers allow upgrades in units and developments that I have or have not been involved in. And oftentimes developers will not allow upgrades in units for affordable units. So while I understand your point, I think that that's assuming, I guess, that everybody that buys in there is going to be looking to do an upgrade.
Well, it depends on the quality of the base model, whether, to what degree we'll see upgrades.
I mean, the exterior elements of the base models are all the same with that.
Well, that's why it's the base model. I'm just saying that the degree that which people upgrade windows and things like that is pretty common in new construction from the base model. It's the more common scenario than it being sold as a base model, unless you don't have a buyer for it and it's completely on spec.
Actually, that's not been our history with things with 40B projects and other projects. I mean, usually we try to, our houses, go for Energy Star, so they're an upgraded window right from the start, whether they're market rate or affordable. We use the same siding, whether it's market rate or affordable. We're pretty cognizant of what, you're trying to achieve and not identifying the affordable homes with that. And realistically, I can tell you from experience that it's sometimes, actually, a lot of times people go in and they may think they see an affordable home, and more often times than not, it's a market rate home.
I certainly understand that. My actual angle is to get a farmer's porch or 2 on an affordable unit. all cards on the table. My angle is more of upgrades on the affordable units than just to ensure continuity.
And we have done upgrades on affordable units before also. We're not opposed to that. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't offer it. Depends on what type of development. In this type of development where it's standalone single family homes, we've had other instances in other neighborhoods where maybe some parents or something step in and they want to pay for a farmer's porch or something like that to an affordable, realizing that they may not get that value back when they go to sell it. So, I mean, that option is open if somebody wanted to do that to an affordable unit.
You're not looking to change any of the footprints. You're just looking for like a dormer on the upstairs or a farmer's porch or a chimney or something of that sort.
Yeah, we're looking, if you look at the base architectural footprints and stuff, we're looking to, keep those pretty much all the same and stuff.
So my question goes kind of on Courtney's questioning. Let's just, to get the point is, let's make an extreme scenario. All the market rate units got a significant upgrade. Would that require you to then upgrade the affordable units to a certain level?
I don't have the 100% answer on that, but I would think not on that. I don't think it's required. We have to make sure they have similar exterior designs and similar elements of construction. But if somebody was adding, say, a farmer's porch, it's not necessarily that if everybody added a farmer's porch, then we'd have to add them on the affordable.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, Tim, to Tom's point, if a market rate buyer comes and says, I'd like a dormer or I'd like a farmer's porch, that's an upgrade and that's an expense to them. An affordable buyer, it works the same. If an affordable buyer, if upgrades are allowed, and they're not always allowed, if an affordable buyer says, outside, I want to put on a screened porch, that cost goes to the affordable buyer.
Right.
So, if upgrades are allowed, it's the cost of the upgrade is still borne by the affordable buyer.
Right.
Well, I understand what Courtney's saying. Courtney's saying is, she doesn't want to see 16 homes with porches on them and 2 with no porches on them. But I think we also need to be clear to say that the cost of that is borne by a buyer, whether or not they're an affordable buyer or they're a market rate buyer.
Right. I know. I don't know. I didn't know the answer to the question, but without knowing the answer, I was inclined to suspect that that's the answer, because it wouldn't be logical otherwise, because you couldn't monitor all that to a dollar amount. You just couldn't. You just, every time you change one little exterior molding, you're going to send 15 people out there to examine the cost and then recalibrate the whole thing. It's just not practical. So I didn't expect the answer to be different. I just wanted to ask the question of how the state looked at it. Because sometimes states, in my opinion, sometimes their rules and regs don't make a lot of sense to me. But I know that's shocking. But so in any event, I guess, Courtney asks a valid point, has a valid concern. We don't want, we don't want, hey, those are clearly affordable because they look just inferior. But the base model is the base model.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd ask Tom, what exactly kind of language is he looking for from us to amend the decision to, if we're so what specifically are you looking for, Tom?
Rich, could you put that up?
Joe, I think that was
Yeah,
that
I'm gonna
was
pull
sent
it up.
to us, right? That was sent to us. I saw in
Yeah, it's
suggestion.
similar to what has been done in other
I don't know. Can you hear me?
developments.
Can you hear me?
You're breaking up, Joe.
I have it on the screen if you can see
Okay,
it.
I'm sorry. I'm trying.
Okay.
That's okay. Why is that? Oh, well, there you go. Sorry.
I don't know why it looks like that, Rich.
What does it look like?
It's all,
It's show characters.
Right.
If you
Oh,
go, if you go to home
yeah.
and
Turn it off.
yeah.
yeah, there you go. Great, thank you.
Yep.
Right. Everybody can see that and read that now? I'll just read it out loud in case people can't see it. So it voted to amend condition 4.10 by adding the following new sentence at the end of the first paragraph, quote, "The residential structures constructed by the applicant may deviate from the site plans provided that there shall be no increase in height or number of stories, and there shall be no encroachment into any minimum setback areas as shown in the minimal dimensional requirements set forth under section E.1 of the list of waivers."
That's
So
pretty
Tim,
loose.
this is Chris Maker. Does the site plan show the individual designs of the houses? Because,
The architectural plans do.
right, they do.
The site plan the site plans, as you see it there, is a defined term. When you go to condition 810, it then references you to Article 411 and Article 412, I think. And that defines that shows the architectural plans.
Are the building footprints on the site plan accurate to what you plan to build per model, or are those just general forms?
They're just general forms right now.
Okay.
You want me? I can pull.
Rich, you had just put the pictures up there a second ago, and it doesn't look like a dormer or a farmer's porch is going to change the look of these any sort of dramatic way.
Right, Tyler. What Tom was saying though is, I guess he's got a base design for each unit, and he doesn't want to have to come back each time when he makes some upgrades to those base units.
Yeah, it's like it seems like a pretty common sense sort of
Right, it
decision.
makes sense. Yeah,
like
within limit.
But that's not the site plan, is what I'm saying.
Limited to a dollar amount of upgrades? I don't know, but.
No, I don't think a dollar amount, but there's certain things like adding dormers, depending on the size of the dormer, can significantly impact square footage.
But even like,
I don't think the square, we're only. Yeah,
I know, it's just about comparableness.
If I'm correct, Tom, you're only talking about the buildings outside of the condo section, correct?
if the condo section would be a whole different thing. They'd have to get condo.
That would be a whole different thing, but
Yeah.
the section that is the single family homes per se,
These 32 units, yeah.
let them be treated like single family homes is realistically what you're saying. And if somebody buying from a developer a new home, they might want to change this, that, or the other thing, maybe put a little porch on the back, maybe put a farmer's porch on the front, maybe even put a third car garage on there.
And like, it's something, when you look at those elevations, all the garage doors are in the front. Okay. I'd like to be able, there's some opportunity at some of these locations to maybe put a side car entrance.
Right.
I'll put windows in the front.
Yeah, makes sense.
I go strictly by those. And it's strictly adhered to on the comprehensive permit. I gotta just build them just like that. I can't put a side entry garage or a farmer's porch across and just try to break up the neighborhood a little bit. That's all. It just.
I think the only thing that makes any difference is if square footage is added. Outside of that, you're not talking about major exterior alterations or anything like that. It's just when square footage is added that things change a little.
Yeah, he's asking for opportunity for upgrades. I hate to be, hey, no, we don't want upgrades in Norfolk.
Yeah, no, I mean, not at all, not at all. No, my only, it's the little house, it's, to be honest with you, when I just look at the front here, it's the smallest house on it that I see getting 2 shed dormers on either side, and that significantly, to me, that's a significant change, but it's not really.
I guess.
I don't care.
No, and you make valid points. You boil it down. You don't want one house to stand out as a affordable house for whatever reason. But on the same token, we want to encourage upgrades.
No, we want no.
That's to have, right?
My point is not that about standing out. My point is really just making sure that the affordable units are designed and constructed at the expense of the developer to a similar standard as the rest of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And where I care about square footage is just where it comes down into whether or not the units being sold are comparable. That's all. I get it. It's just anal retention about.
No, it's wonderful, Courtney, it's wonderful to have somebody that's in tune with that. But just for the board's information, I am the lottery agent for this project, so it's an in-house lottery agent, which is terrific because it
Nice
gives you a
in
little bit-
kind.
Yeah. And the monitoring agent that I'm working with is a monitoring agent that I have worked with on 2 other projects. And, you know, the more you work with a monitoring agent, the better your procedures and your, you know, there's less room for error. You know what the expectations are. You work as a team and, you know, we're both responsible to answer to mass housing. And what we don't want is, Courtney's exactly right. We don't want, you know, there to be a 1,500 square foot house and have it be the only 1,500 square foot house in a development of 32 homes. And so people can drive in and select which are the affordable and which aren't. I will say that I think the size of this is great for us to get 8 units because, you know, we, and I'm not sure how many people on this board were aware of it, but we actually did our first payment in lieu of program because we had somebody building a 14 unit subdivision back before our bylaws were higher numbers. And they were building 4,000 square foot homes. And we did not want to put an affordable buyer in a 4,000 square foot home and have one affordable buyer in a neighborhood of 14 homes that are all on the market and many have sold for between $800,000 and $1 million. So it's a balancing act. And I appreciate Courtney's concern for my affordable buyers. But I can tell you that I have worked with this developer on a prior project with the monitoring agent, and we work well together as a team to ensure that those types of things aren't happening.
Tim, Joe Sebastiano, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, did we lock in what the affordable units are going to be in this? Because there were a number of different styles here. I can't remember. Do we lock in what the affordable units will look like at this point? Because there was like different choices in the base house.
If I could answer that, part of our approval with mass housing was we had to distribute the affordable houses around the subdivision so that they're spread out evenly. They're not all grouped together and everything with that. As we build the development, what we always do is that if we have 3 houses of one style, we know we have to build one of that style. So we're always maintaining that same ratio of 1 to 4. And we're pretty cognizant of that. We watch that as well. So if somebody wants 3 capes, we know we got to build one that's affordable, the next one on that. So we do maintain that. I don't think anyone here is going to exactly know what is the most popular house in a year from now. But when we build those houses, we know which ones will be or are selling, and then we make sure that we match that 4th one as an affordable so that we maintain that same 25% ratio of affordable to market rate. The other thing I'd like to say too is that it doesn't do me any favors if I don't keep the affordable homes looking attractive. If I have something that you can point out, then the other houses on either side of that affordable aren't going to sell very well either. So I need to be tasteful and cognizant of what is happening in the whole development as we move forward.
Again, I'm still not as concerned about the outward appearance. I'm really only concerned about whether or not floor plans will change. Again, we're talking about dormers, things that add square footage. I'm really, at the end of the day, asking about if floor plans change, because if bedrooms counts change or bathroom counts change, it changes things. That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, bedroom counts can change because we're under nitrogen loading and everything with septic systems. So that's
okay. All right. That's what I'm really asking at the end of the day, is whether or not you're changing any. Because it's just like, I don't care about the windows that much, or if you rotate a garage. What I care about is if you add dormers, and that adds the opportunity to give bonus rooms and stuff like that aren't sincerely, you know.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm glad you asked that, and you asked that in that manner with things. Specifically, we're limited on bedrooms, and because of that, at the septic systems, we're limited on room count also.
All right. Oh, carry down, get down with your bad self, have a good time.
I would agree. Thanks for getting the clarification.
One last question.
I would agree with Tom.
Last question on the.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to mention, does that mean The garages, I forget now, do all the houses have the same count of garages, Tom?
They all have 2-car garages, yes.
Okay,
The one that you see that's narrow, it's because it's very deep. It has a side entry garage.
okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Hey, Tom, this
That he
is,
points out
I-
that he has to build to the market, and the market controls, and if he builds an inferior looking product to a superior one, they all lose. He knows that better than anybody, and I just agree, and so.
all right.
Go ahead, Chris.
Tom was asking another question though, Tim, that if he wants to make it so the neighborhood has got this inherent appearance where sometimes the garage will be on the front and some would be on the side, does this master plan allow him to do that? I think that's what's one of his questions.
Well, I think that's what he's asking for, just for clarification.
Yeah.
I don't think it prohibits it. I think he's saying that you approve these plans and they're specific, and he's just being proactive and not
Right.
assuming he can change it. He's asking us just to confirm that he has a little bit of capacity here, ability to change them without coming back potentially 64 times or more.
Right.
As buyers looking for. So I think he pointed out to us, I don't see this change, I'm in favor of it because it makes a nice look for a neighborhood, right? And
Right.
people like.
Right.
So if we tied his hands a little too tight, because we weren't thinking that far ahead of the permitting process, he brought it to our attention now. I think it's an opportunity to make it better.
Right, because your statement that we saw in the document says site plan, and if he's locked into that site plan, has he got the ability to do these changes?
Well,
Or
Rich,
is he-
what about the site plan again? Because you had a couple of ovens that went to a site plan and then some other
Right.
drawings, I believe. So it's a good point. Just
Well,
so we know that if we vote that Mr. Placido is comfortable with it also.
Right, because I think the site plan at the moment,
Change.
the site plan at the moment, Tom, has probably got your best guess of what each location would have built on it, right?
It does. It shows, basically what we think is our best guess, what fits most appropriately on each lot. I don't see it varying significantly from what we've shown as footprints, but there could be some variations there.
And you don't want to come back, to the board each time you want to make that change. It's really your
Correct.
direction. Yeah.
So you also need some looseness too with respect to the elevations that were approved with them base models. Not just site plan. I assume that elevations were part of your, part of the whole review and all of that you'd want to deflect that reference to.
If you actually, I sent the, Rich, if you'd be so
Yeah.
kind, I sent a copy of the approved and recorded comprehensive permit in that email that I sent to you, just so I could show you this. I had a feeling this question would come up.
Yeah.
And
Because if they were just models, I don't know that you even need anything extra. It would seem you'd already have the flexibility because the site plan was just forms too and not final building locations.
mhm.
I'm gonna grab the decision.
So this is just belt and suspenders.
Yep. If we have the decision there and we look at A10.
Okay, yeah, that's a long detailed list of proposed elevations that I already saw.
Oops, sorry,
Yeah,
yeah, we're past it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see what you got in here. All right.
yeah. So it sort of gives everything.
All
that was-
right. So that was a pretty specific plan set. So you need flexibility to modify the proposed floor plans and elevations in addition to the site plan.
Correct.
Okay. Suspect you should get both.
Fit all on the screen there.
It-
There it is.
What you're on right now, page 5 there, it actually is section 411 and section 412. And then if you go to section A10,
Yep.
which I'm asking for the modification on, it defines those two sections combined or collectively as the site plans, and that's why I use that term.
Okay.
If there's a better way to do it, I'm more than open to listen with things. I just
Can we
thought-
look at A11 again, Rich?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. What does the bottom of it say? Or is it just the plan list collectively? These are known. Okay. Building continuous, okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay. So you think what this look like? Okay, so in terms of, does that language do the trick? Or do it? Does it reference?
I think we want to reference the architectural plans. It's not really I see less of an issue with the site plan. It's
Yeah.
It's what's collectively known as the architectural plans that are going to end up getting modified.
Could I walk everybody through this? If I think we're on, what you have on the screen there is section Roman numeral 4.
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's not a condition. It's just a.
and 4.12.
all right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
let's look at-
And then if we go to A10, A.10, the condition.
Yeah.
Is okay. Look, yep, a little bit. Yep. So if we read A10, the decision permits the construction, use, and occupancy of no greater than 64 housing units on the site, and construction and use of the site shall be in conformity with the site development plans defined under section 411 and Roman numeral 412 above, collectively the site plans. So I thought that brought those architectural into it under that definition.
Okay.
So do we want to consider amending A10 so that this specifically excludes the architectural drawings?
Or we could amend it to specifically include the architectural drawings and say, but use the new language to allow them to modify it.
Right.
You still would need to be able to modify the site plan if we were going to add a farmer's porch or do a side entry garage too. So I think we do need to
Better
look
to
at both.
include it and then amend it.
Yeah. No, I think both would be the most explicit.
So do you want to try to?
We need do we need a, let me ask it this way. Would it be appropriate if we had a motion to amend 8.10 to exclude the architectural drawings from the definition of site plans in this paragraph, but also allow architectural drawings to be amended? Is that essentially what we're trying to accomplish without tipping something else over?
I think he said though that he needs to be able to amend the site plan too, because he feels that rotating the garage will look slightly different. That will probably change location of driveways. And so I think what would need to be done, site development plans, as he's saying, is inclusive of all of the drawings in the packet that were listed out earlier in 11 and 12. 11 was the architectural plans. And so so it's there in number. It's just a little less clear a little less obvious when you read it that it includes architectural plans.
Yes.
And the proposed modification, I did use the word site plans only because it was defined here in.
Yeah, makes sense. Where's the new proposed language again?
That may work.
Maybe site plan should be put in quotes or all capitals or something. Do we?
Yes, that would, yeah, that needs quotes. Or you can include the reference B11 and B12.
Yeah, you might want to do both, or certainly get the reference. That way no one else is questioning it.
Do you want to
So-
set a draft? So try to make it on the fly.
Can you change that, Rich? I don't know what you have access to there.
It's site plans right after may deviate from, and so we're thinking in quotes, site plans. And then in parentheses, as in, whatever it says on the other, just the first part of the condition, B11 and B12. But that was this reference.
How about if you put in after site plans, may deviate from the site plans as previously defined?
That works too.
You deviate from
The site plan as previously defined.
And provide that there is. Shall be no increase.
We're going to leave that, I believe.
Yep, yep.
Should we as a board have council review this before we say okay?
We did have a comment come in from the public.
Okay.
Tim, can I read that?
Yeah, we can. Yep, please do.
This is from an Eric Diamond. Has the board's lawyer and or engineering consultant who drafted the decision reviewed this modification? Question mark.
That's okay.
So the short answer is no, the engineer hasn't, the attorney hasn't, but that's what's on the table for discussion. It sounds like, right? From David.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when you do these quick things, it's kind of what happened over on Cleveland Street where we didn't end up with a farmer's porch. I want to make sure that we have everything documented.
I mean, I think that's a reasonable request, Tom, and I think we got the intent.
And I think the intent is right. I think it's I think it's good. I just want to make sure we're doing it so that he has that freedom to do what is
You want to be
good.
sure it's drafted properly. I get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it doesn't come back to bite us in the butt or him.
Yep.
I mean, I have no problem if you want to run it by town council.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. It does make sense.
Elaine, is there anybody else from the public that would like to be heard on this?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
I see a
Looks like
hand.
Mike
There's a hand.
Judice's got his hand up.
Somebody's got a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, hi, I do. Can you hear me?
All right.
Yes, go ahead,
So-
Mike.
By
Sorry.
yourself, please.
Yep, Mike Judice, Eagle Drive. And start off by saying I have no issues whatsoever with the intent of this modification. I think that's a good thing. Anything that can be done to improve the development and the individual homes is terrific, and I support that. The issue I have is with the language of the modification. And you were just talking about intent. I don't think that intent is conveyed in there. It's pretty nebulous and open-ended. All it says is the site plans can, they may deviate from the site plans. Well, that could mean a lot of different things to different people. I think if the attorney looks at this, they might have similar comments. I would just like to see some of the examples of the types of modifications that are intended to be covered by this. List out, such as farmers porches, just so, dormers or sunrooms, whatever the case may be. Someone could read this and say, okay, I'm going to put up a concrete bunker, and as long as it's not high, not more stories and doesn't have doesn't impact the setbacks, it meets the legal language of this modification. So that'd be my only comment. Have some indication of what the intent of this is to cover, so that it's clear when he wants to make a change that it's in this modification.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So, Tom, with that being said, could we try to draft some language that would define that or limit that? Like this, like Mike just suggested, whether it's the changes are, farmer's porch, garage, differently figured garages or whatever, dormers or whatever.
Yeah,
So it's not
orientation.
I favor the suggestion that you forward it to town council to have him review it and actually they could add some language like that in there, however they see fit with it and stuff.
I definitely favor putting some limitation on it. It's very open language.
I
Not
agree.
that I don't trust you, but it's very open, and so only to limit height by and setback. You could really move every single building if you wanted to with that condition, and so I think it's there needs to be some scaling to what constitutes a substantial change versus what people are free to do to a single family.
Okay, so Rich, if we can,
Yeah.
why don't we try to get this into the hands of town council to take a look at?
Yep.
By all means, rotate them garages, though. Turn that parking. Turn it. The car does not need to be king.
All right. So we know how she feels. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I will do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on this one, Tom, or from the board? We'll wait to hear from town council.
I have no other questions, and I appreciate everyone's time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
It
Appreciate
might be helpful if you could provide to town council, if you could provide some specificity with respect to what you plan on offering. It's helpful to know that you want to rotate garages or, upgrade windows, which isn't significant, or add dormers. That kind of language is, what you might offer customers would be helpful.
Yeah, I think you're right. You may want to think about that and get in contact with Rich over the next day or two or whatever and say, this is what I'm thinking of limiting it to.
And that'll get you a nice condition and get you where you need to go and feel that. I think that's the right way to go. That's my thought. If anybody agrees.
I'll coordinate with Rich tomorrow and see whatever wants to line up with town council so that we can have a discussion with it and move forward.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Everyone have a
LaFleur.
nice night.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom.
Okay. And thank you to the resident who showed up and had some comments. We appreciate that. I think we have
Bring this back to
back to
151.
the discussion on the special permit for 151 Union, I believe.
Yes, we do. And I believe we have the architect is on with us.
Okay. Someone could identify themselves. We'd be happy to hear from them.
Nathaniel?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for, revisiting this project. We're applying for a special permit to extend a non-conforming structure at 151 Union Street.
Yep.
And we would be extending no further than the existing encroachment. I'd be happy to share my screen and show the plans again if anyone needs a refresher from last month.
If you want to pull the plans.
You want me to do that, Rich?
Sure, why not?
Okay,
We can,
just a minute.
But I think since we closed this hearing, I don't know if we want to have a dialogue. I think we.
No,
take it as
you can, right. So
We
the
do it.
plan is just for your reference, but,
Right. I'm just cautioning the board that
Yeah.
yeah. So I did provide a decision to review. Some comments came back from the board. I can share that. I'll screen share it. They made the edits from the comments that were in there. Thank you for those. I'm going to screen share in a second here. So,
Okay.
So in terms of changes from the original draft, I changed the district to R3 because it's an R3 zoning district. Change the first paragraph in terms of but not to a greater extent than the original structure in the R3 district. I think before the draft made it seem like as if it was greater, it's not. That was the part of the findings that you made, which is in this decision. I clarified description. What was it? It's a bedroom, bathroom upstairs, not a bedroom.
Right.
Where second floor, yeah, and number 2 there, second floor, bedroom and bathroom. I think that was the only other comments. So in terms of, well, I did actually change 7 there, town water. Really, that's basically the only town utility. Electric is through Eversource, septic is on site. Communication, whatever, there, Verizon, Extended, etc. So hopefully what you have before you is the decision to vote with the findings that are incorporated within the decision. Which
Has everybody had a chance to look at this? We can scroll through it if you haven't, and we can talk about it. We can vote or amend it or change or whatever. Has everybody had a chance to review it?
Not quite.
I assume so.
Yes.
Is
I
there any
did,
discussion
and
on this?
I thought it looked good, Tim. This is Joe.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions on this?
No.
Everyone's familiar with the plan that was presented? If not, we could put it up again just to refresh your memory.
Yeah, this is Chris Metcalf. The only question I have is one I've had before, which is this, the master plan going back to 2007. How does, and that's on that 0.7?
Yep. Yeah, it's part of the criteria for the special permit.
Okay, all right.
We have within the town of Norfolk residential zones that allow single family homes. So
Rich, do you just want to scroll down?
That's good.
Want to scroll down so we can see the conditions?
Not much more to say, but
Concise, straight to the point.
put some fluff in there, but
there must be a lot of fluff in that.
yeah. So in terms of what we've borrowed, in terms of staging, so we want to make sure it's on site. We don't get out parking vehicles out on the Union Street. Provide access and then clear the site off for debris. I don't think there was really anything else in this particular jumped out. It's a pretty big property, quite a bit of space. Even in terms of their driveway to do the construction.
Yeah, there's a lot of acreage there.
Yeah, so I didn't really see too much more that jumps out unless the board.
No, I think we're good.
All right, is there a motion?
I hope so.
Come on, brave soldiers.
Wake up out there, wake up.
All right, can you hear Joe?
Yes,
Okay.
Go ahead,
and
Joe.
we see you.
This is 151 Union Street, right?
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
Right, yeah. So I make a motion that we approve the special permit for 151 Union Street and the decision as written.
Okay.
I
Is there a
second that.
David second that. Okay. Any discussion? Elaine, another roll call vote, please.
okay. Josephine Kodahi,
Josephine Kordahi, aye.
Chris Metcalf,
Chris Metcalf, aye.
Tim Martin,
Tim Martin, aye.
David Axberg,
David Axberg, aye.
Joe Sebastiano.
Joe Sebastiano, aye.
Okay,
There's a vote.
Good.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you. And thank you to the applicant.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, have a good night.
You as well.
That takes us to the end of our meeting for this evening. I don't know of anything else out there. Rich or Elaine, am I missing something?
Well, do we need to discuss college or wait till the decision's written?
What's that?
Do we need to discuss the other hearing we had tonight or wait till the decision
wanna
is
do
written
the
and
other-
do it the same way
the one-
we just?
The one Cottage Ave?
Oh, if you don't, I propose doing the way we doing it, if you don't mind. I mean, draft it and you can,
Yeah, why don't you take a stab at
I
drafting?
agree.
it?
I like
Yep.
the stab at
I
drafting
agree.
first before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that and then we can,
and then I'll have it for the next meeting.
right. Are there any decisions, because we're all in the meeting now, is there anything at the office that we should come down to sign? Elaine, is there anything open that we need to sign or take a look at?
no, if,
It'll just be this one here, Union Street.
and,
Yeah.
and it would just be the minutes too. Joe, if you could come sign them.
Yeah, I'll come down, I'll try and get down by Friday. Not Friday, I'll try and get down tomorrow lunchtime.
Okay.
You around?
All right, yep, I'll be there.
Okay,
When,
thank you.
when would this be available for the Union Street? I'm not sure there's any edits.
Tomorrow, tomorrow morning.
Okay, so I
Okay.
told the board, tomorrow's Thursday, so if you can get there Thursday, that would help out the applicant, and I think
Okay.
Monday's a holiday. Everyone can do their best effort. I'll intend to get there later in the day,
All right,
but if everybody could just do their best.
Elaine, I'm visiting my grandkids until next Tuesday.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's, yeah.
they must be in bed right now then, Chris.
Oh, yeah. They're waiting to see me though. I haven't been down there since October, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, all right. Well, that's important.
Yep.
If I'm not at the office, then I certainly have a file that I leave on my desk that says, ZBA to be signed, so.
Okay.
Is there any other business, Rich or Elaine, that we should attend to this evening?
No, that's it.
No, I will try to
Just-
make my minutes a little bit shorter, although I don't know how I'm gonna manage
We're
with
only
those,
teasing,
with those Pond Street, the solar panels. I'm telling you, that's gonna be tricky.
Yeah.
Hey, just to be clear, Courtney and I are not signing any of the things you're talking about signing, correct?
No, no.
That's
Correct.
That is
Correct.
Got it.
We have the best job, Tyler.
Just listen and process.
We
Got it.
just kick back, comment, go away.
Right.
There you
go.
That was good.
All right. So do we
I
have a
make a
motion to
motion.
close the
I'll
hearing?
make a motion. Yeah, I'll make a motion. We close the hearing, excuse me.
The meeting.
meeting for February 16th at 9:30.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? Is there anything in the audience that has any comments before we close the hearing? There being none. And I guess one more roll call vote before we say goodnight.
Okay. David Axberg,
David Axberg, good night.
Good night. Joe Sebastiano,
Joe Sebastiano, aye.
Chris Metcalf,
Chris Metcalf signing out. Aye.
signing out. Josephine Kudahi,
Josephine, aye. Josephine Kudahi, aye.
okay. Tim Martin,
Tim Martin, aye.
and I think that's it.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
All right, good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.